When I woke up that Tuesday morning, I expected another quiet day checking fences and cattle. Instead, I found 6 bulldozers tearing into the edge of my ranch. The men acted like they owned the place, and that's when my life changed forever. I slammed my truck into park and ran toward the construction crew. Nobody stopped working. It was as if they had been told I didn't matter. One worker finally looked at me and calmly said, "Sir, we're installing a regional pipeline." I laughed because there was only one problem. Nobody had ever asked my permission. I demanded to see their permits. The foreman didn't hesitate. He reached into his truck and handed me a thick folder stamped with official county approvals. As I flipped through the paperwork, one sentence froze me in place. It claimed an easement had already been legally approved months ago. My signature wasn't anywhere on the documents. Then I noticed the organization listed on every page. My own HOA had signed the agreement. Somehow, they had sold access across my ranch for $6 million. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My ranch had been in my family for 3 generations. No homeowners association had the authority to sell even a single foot of it. Before I could say another word, a luxury SUV pulled onto the dirt road. Linda Brooks stepped out wearing an expensive white suit with the confidence of someone who believed she had already won. She smiled and told me the deal had already been finalized. According to her, fighting it would only waste everyone's time. I knew right then she had underestimated me. I looked straight into her eyes and made one promise. Nobody touches another inch of my ranch until I know exactly what happened. The machines kept running, but not for much longer. The second Linda drove away, I called my attorney. He had represented my family for nearly 20 years, and I'd never heard him sound this concerned. He told me not to sign or say another word until he reviewed every document. Within an hour, my attorney arrived carrying a leather briefcase stuffed with property records. We spread the documents across the hood of my truck and started comparing every page. It didn't take long to spot the first problem. The easement description included land that had never been part of the HOA. Someone had expanded the property boundaries on paper. My attorney looked at me and quietly said, "Jack, if these records are accurate, someone committed serious fraud." Hearing those words made everything suddenly feel very real. We drove straight to the county recorder's office. If the original filings had been altered, the official records would tell us exactly when and by whom. After nearly 2 hours of searching, the clerk handed us the original filing. My attorney smiled for the first time all day. The genuine document looked nothing like the one the construction company had received. Someone had replaced multiple pages before submitting the final easement package. The forged version conveniently added my ranch to the project. It was no accident. It was deliberate. My attorney immediately filed an emergency request to halt all construction until ownership could be verified. It wasn't a final victory, but it bought us something priceless: time. By late afternoon, a deputy sheriff arrived at the construction site, carrying temporary legal orders. The pipeline crew slowly shut down every machine as the engines fell silent. Linda Brooks arrived just minutes later, furious that the project had been stopped. She insisted everything had been approved. My attorney simply held up the original county records, and for the first time, her confidence disappeared. That evening, my attorney called with news I wasn't expecting. He had traced the easement payment through public records. The $6 million had never gone to the landowners. Instead, the money had been deposited into an account controlled by the HOA. The transaction happened only 3 days before the bulldozers arrived. Someone wanted everything finished before anyone asked questions. We requested copies of every HOA board meeting from the previous year. Most of the records looked ordinary. Then we noticed one meeting that wasn't listed in the community newsletter. The so-called emergency meeting had lasted less than 20 minutes. According to the minutes, millions of dollars in property rights had been approved with almost no discussion. Even stranger, several board members listed as present were actually out of state that week. Airline receipts and hotel records confirmed they couldn't have attended. My attorney smiled and quietly said someone created a meeting that probably never happened. At that moment, we realized the paperwork was only the beginning. The following morning, I visited several of my neighbors. None of them had ever heard about a pipeline easement. Most were just as shocked as I was. One retired engineer told me he remembered survey crews entering the ranch months earlier. They claimed they were conducting routine environmental studies. Nobody mentioned the pipeline. That conversation led us to security camera footage from a neighboring property. The video showed survey teams entering through a lock gate using access codes only the HOA possessed. With every new piece of evidence, the story became harder to ignore. The pipeline company believed it had a legal agreement, but someone had built that agreement on documents that were beginning to fall apart. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another HOA story. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you.